It's been a slow start from the MLB trade deadline, and let me just get ahead of the curve and say this. If the Nationals do not sell off their main veteran pieces, I will not be happy.
You are Locked On Nationals, your daily Washington Nationals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And yes, I'm your host, Ryan Clary. You can catch me on Twitter at RyanClary11. And later on in today's program, there have been zero rumors surrounding first baseman Nathaniel Lowe. That kind of has surprised me at this point. So we'll kind of jump into that later on in the show today. And in that second segment, we will also have a discussion surrounding what we have heard surrounding MacKenzie Gore, because the rumors are still out there. We are just under 40 hours away from the trade deadline, even less than that at this point. I believe it is 37 hours away from this morning. But now we start off discussing, if the Nationals do not sell off Michael Soroka, Kyle Finnegan, and Josh Bell, I will be furious. But before that, today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. So we get started in today's show discussing the veteran pieces that we expect will be moved. And let me just tell you this, if they are not moved, then we should riot as a fan base, because right now with where the Nationals stand today, this is not a winning ball club. And even then, there are other pieces that should be moved. There are guys like Andrew Chafin, who has actually pitched really well here for the Nationals since being signed from the Detroit Tigers. He is someone who should be moved at the deadline. Paul DeYoung, even if you get a single baseball for him at the deadline, he should be traded as well. The Nationals should have a fire sale. That is why we are here today, is because the Nationals have not been able to compete in 2025. The rebuild does not seem to be over anytime soon. And unfortunately, we are still trying to get things back on track. And again, the smart thing to do and to get this team back on track is in order to trade at the deadline. The Nationals have to realize something. They have to take a good look in the mirror today and figure out what they are and what they want to be. Right now, what they are, I can answer this. It is an ugly picture. It is a dysfunctional team that woke up in the morning, does not brush their teeth. They do not do the little things in life to get themselves right. That is the kind of human that the Nationals are right now, to kind of use an imperfect analogy there. What they want to be, you want to have that six-pack. You want to have that look in the morning where you're like, I look good. It's a fresh haircut. That is what the Nationals need at this point. You need a fresh perspective. You need to hit that reset button. And hitting that reset button applies to trading away your veteran pieces. The older guys that you have signed to this team to try to help with this young core has not necessarily worked out. If I'm Mike DeBartolo in the Washington Nationals, I am answering the phone on every single person that is not named C.J. Abrams, that is not named James Wood, Brady House, and Dylan Cruz. Everyone else, open season. I'd like to think that the Nationals and their veteran pieces, at least someone in that front office, is going to recognize this. That the expiring deals of Soroka, Finnegan, and Bell should be moved regardless of the situation. It doesn't matter if you don't have the value that you thought you would be getting in return for those guys. If the deadline strikes at 5:59 p.m. on Thursday, you better have a deal in place for all of those guys. Value does not necessarily matter too much. Now, if you jump the gun and make a decision that may hinder them and may just kind of think to yourself like, well, there's no better deal coming anytime soon, that's where things get bad. That's where I would be upset in a move like this. But I don't think the Nationals are in a position for that at this point. In fact, I think the Nationals will likely make some savvy moves that I think could really affect what they do moving forward. And if they do trade guys like MacKenzie Gore, then yeah, things are going to be different moving forward. I can tell you that much right now. But starting with the big guy, Michael Soroka, who just made likely his final start in yesterday's game, you got to move off him at the deadline. And there is a market for him, by the way. Even if it's not in a starting pitcher kind of role there, maybe it's probably a reliever, a team that is looking for, again, that Trevor Williams role where someone who could come in and be a spot starter, but also on the flip side, be a reliable bullpen guy. Maybe it's Andrew Chafin, someone who has done it in the postseason before, who has been around Major League Baseball for a while, and he's having a really good season here in DC. Maybe a team needs a utility player who can play shortstop, second base, first base, third base with Paul DeYoung. Some team will value that. Also, someone who could probably hit for a little bit of pop off the bench. The Nationals have their options here. But if they do not sell the veteran pieces, then what are we doing? Because if you can't get any value in return for when Michael Soroka inevitably walks this offseason, for when Josh Bell likely doesn't return this offseason, and God forbid, Kyle Finnegan, if you can't get anything in return for those guys now, then you failed at this deadline. And right now, it's a slow market, as we have seen. Jeff Passan, Buster Olney, all the insiders have been talking about how slow of a market it is. And I've actually got some thoughts on that later on in the show and what could it be really holding up that at this point in time. But with where the Nationals are, last year, you did not sell off on Kyle Finnegan. You should have. Mike Rizzo made a big mistake there. In years past, you have decided to hold on to veteran pieces that, quite frankly, did not make any sense to me. The Nationals have to figure this thing out eventually. And again, if it's hitting that reset button by trading MacKenzie Gore as well, then so be it. Things have to change with this team. And this team right now is not set up for success whatsoever moving forward. You have to figure out what you are and figure out what you want to be. And the Nationals, they cannot be in limbo at this point. They need to figure out that this thing has not worked and will not work with these veterans and move off them at the deadline and try to get some talent in return. I always look back to the John Lester trade in 2021. You get back Lane Thomas in return, someone who should have been a Gold Glover multiple times over, someone who also could have been easily a building block for this future, and you move off him last year's deadline and you get a haul of prospects in return. The Nationals got to figure this thing out. And I also, by the way, I do think they will. I think they will realize that you have no other way to go and you have to move off these veteran pieces like Kyle Finnegan, Michael Soroka, and Josh Bell. And if they do not figure out those three pieces, I've got a problem. And we'll have that discussion on Friday if they do not make those moves today or tomorrow, for that matter of fact. Later on in the show today, let's get into no Nathaniel Lowe news at this point in time. Like, this has been one of the more surprising things for the Nationals at this point. I didn't really anticipate this. I thought Nathaniel Lowe would likely be traded as far as like last week. I thought that he would be on the move. I thought there would be a little bit of smoke surrounding him, but so far, not much movement on that front. So we'll just kind of dive into that and maybe what the Nationals could be thinking with that moving forward. But next, I want to get into the MacKenzie Gore market because that has been hot and ready. I mean, the Chicago Cubs are in. The New York Yankees are rumored to be in on this. What is going on? I'll have that discussion for you after this. And right now, we have all been there logging on early and waiting forever for concert tickets to go on sale, only to lose your spot for a show that you've been dying to see. And live music should be about making memories, not dealing with the stress of ticket shopping. That's where Gametime comes in, because Gametime makes getting concert tickets faster and easier than ever. Prices actually drop as it gets closer to showtime, and you can save up to 60% off their last minute deals. And are you tired of endless scrolling trying to find the best deal? Gametime has zone deals picked the best seats in-house for you. And just the other day at Jiffy Lube Live, I was going to Wiz Khalifa. I found the flash zone deals right there in section 101, and I got some great killer seats right there to see Wiz Khalifa live in action. It was so much fun, and courtesy to Gametime, they actually found my seats, got them to me, and it was on a zone deal. So take the guesswork out of buying concert and show tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. And thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. If you haven't done so already, again, look up Locked On Nationals on Apple, Spotify, and of course the video version of this pod over on YouTube. Again, just look up Locked On Nationals. And next, we're going to talk about Nathaniel Lowe and the market that has not really transpired with him. It's kind of surprising to me, but will that mean that nothing will happen? We'll get into that later on in today's program. But the latest on McKenzie Gore and what I am hearing with the Washington Nationals, I can tell you this right now. The Nationals will absolutely not settle on a deal for Gore. They view him as an ace, and they are not going to settle for something that is less than that in return. I think with what's happening right now is the Nationals have a sky-high asking price. If you look at what Garrett Crochet sold for this offseason, that kind of gives you a good idea of what the Nationals would not only want, but that is like the baseline of what should happen. Because if you look at that trade, the White Sox got some really good prospects in that deal, and they should have, by the way. Because again, this is kind of the market for an ace caliber pitcher, who, by the way, will be due for an extension in 2 years from now, 2.5 seasons. The White Sox got a first-round pick with Kyle Teal, who was the number 25 overall prospect in baseball. They got Braden Montgomery, the number 54 prospect in baseball. And they also got Chase Maedroth, who is Boston's number 11 prospect. And then again, the Red Sox number 14 prospect. That was a loaded deal last year with just 1 year remaining of Garrett Crochet's deal at that point in time. The Nationals' asking price should be and will be more than that. I'm not sure if teams are going to get desperate and try to trade for McKenzie Gore, and maybe teams that we have not discussed at this point come in the market for him, because again, the Nationals are not going to budge on this price, and they should not. And by the way, I have been very pro trading McKenzie Gore. But what I will not do is settle for a deal that may not be good for this organization moving forward. I will not settle for something that I think is less than what McKenzie Gore deserves. Because if you really think about it, there is an outside chance, let me just say, but there is an outside chance that the Nationals might compete in 2026 and in 2027. It's a big maybe. A lot of different things will have to happen, but still, there is an opportunity there for him. The Nationals should not settle, though. And if you think that trading McKenzie Gore is best for the future, and it's not just right here and right now, then you trade him this offseason. Because I think one thing holds true today, and that is that McKenzie Gore will likely leave in free agency. That's just the fact of the matter here. I'm not sure if he is, I don't think he's unhappy or anything. I don't think anything like that at this point. I'm sure he's very happy with where he is. But still, he is a Scott Boras client. He is a country kid from North Carolina. I'm not sure if Washington, D.C., in the middle of this rebuild with no end in sight, is really that appealing to him. And again, it just kind of goes back to just being honest with ourselves and what we are at this point. Let's get back into the Gore rumors, though, because I do think that there is some things at play, and I think McKenzie Gore is at the center of this rumor mill as far as where the Nationals stand today. It feels like GMs are just kind of waiting on the McKenzie Gore market and the Joe Ryan market for the Minnesota Twins. Those are the two headlining pitchers at this year's deadline that might be moved. And Joe Ryan being an ace for the Twins and McKenzie Gore being an ace for the Nationals here, the market is kind of at a standstill. And we haven't really seen the starting pitching market go off. One guy that a lot of people thought would be traded was Seth Lugo. He got an extension from the Royals, and that benefits the Nationals immensely because, again, he was on an expiring deal, and a lot of people expected the Royals to sell off him. Instead, they signed him to an extension, so there kind of goes the number one guy who is likely to be traded. And now it's on McKenzie Gore and Joe Ryan. I think that right now the Twins' asking price for Joe Ryan is at the same place for McKenzie Gore. It is really high, and they are waiting for people to meet that offer at this point. This is what these teams should do, and this is what the Nationals should do. You should not sell low on someone who is under team control for 2.5 years. The Nationals, when you traded away Juan Soto, they didn't just take the best offer out there. They held their price tag sky high, and they made A.J. Preller meet that. That's what they are going to do with McKenzie Gore as well. So at this point in time, don't be surprised that the Nationals do hold on to McKenzie Gore. It wouldn't surprise me at all. Yesterday, I said that there was like a 51% chance or 51% thought that I felt that McKenzie Gore would be traded before the deadline. I think right now it's teetering back to like a 49% chance. I think it's, again, flip of a coin at this point of what happens with his future. So as far as McKenzie Gore and the market at this point, I truly do believe McKenzie Gore is holding up the market. But that does not mean that teams have not been calling about him. Teams have been, and according to Jeff Passan, there are two things you have to keep an eye on for Nationals fans. Number one are the Chicago Cubs, obviously, here. Jeff Passan today actually had that the Cubs have not offered Matt Shaw in any packages for McKenzie Gore yet. Now, the reason why that is important for the Nationals is that they are reportedly in on Matt Shaw. They want Matt Shaw to be the centerpiece of this deal for McKenzie Gore. Matt Shaw is a third baseman, played for the University of Maryland. He can play second base as well, went in college as a shortstop. So he can kind of be played all around the diamond for the Nationals. So for people saying, well, what about Birdie House or what about Luis Garcia? It's really different than that. And again, Brady House is going to get the nod over at third base. I'd expect Matt Shaw to move over to second base if things were done. But the Cubs have not offered him in any package yet. And the way that he has made that kind of out there makes me really think that the Cubs not only are very much so trying to get Gore, but they are offering a lot of different prospects. And I don't think it's meeting the Nationals' asking price. And I think the Nationals' asking price is kind of twofolded at this point. Number one, they want major league ready talent. Matt Shaw is that major league ready talent who is, by the way, on an uphill swing at this point and is trending up. Then also they've got their other guys like Owen Casey, an outfielding prospect who is in AAA, who the Nationals, if they were to not get in this deal alongside Matt Shaw, then things should happen. Like people should be fired. Because again, Gore is worth all their top prospects and more. That just is what he is at this point. So if the Nationals have not been able to get what they want at this point, then you should not trade away someone like a McKenzie Gore at this year's deadline. That is something you figure out at the winter meetings, and that's something that you can figure out in the offseason as well. So that is kind of where the Nationals stand with the Cubs. We'll stick right here and make sure that nothing happens with the Cubs. But don't just think about the Cubs, because there was a team that Jeff Passan mentioned that is pretty interesting, and that is that the New York Yankees are also in play for McKenzie Gore. Now, here's where it gets a little bit tricky. I don't think the New York Yankees have the bullets to make this move happen. I don't think they have the prospects to really just kind of jump into it at this point with the Gore market. I don't know what they would do to try to get this guy because they have some solid talent, to say the least. They have George Lombard Jr., who was a first-round pick back in 2023. He's a pretty good prospect, but even then, hasn't been killer at times. They have their number 2 prospect, Carlos LaGrange, at this point, a right-handed pitcher in Double-A. He's okay, but I just don't think they have what it takes to make a McKenzie Gore move work. So, yeah, they might be interested in him, but Jeff Passan also mentioned that every team that is in the postseason race has checked in on McKenzie Gore. So I guess the Yankees have really pushed for it, but I just don't believe today, if you were to ask me, they don't really have the bullets to make this work. And quite frankly, the Nationals, I would not be thrilled to see him go to the Yankees because I'm not in love with their prospects and their system right now. It's decent. They've got some talent, but we need blue chip prospects. I don't think the Yankees have any blue chip prospects to offer the Washington Nationals. I personally really like Spencer Jones, what he has done, but still, if he's the headliner, there really is no second wave of guys that I'm like, you know what? I'll sign up for that. That's kind of where the Nationals are at this year's deadline. So just to kind of put a bow on this conversation before the trade deadline is actually tomorrow. McKenzie Gore, the market, it's marketing at this point. Teams are calling about him. The Nationals, they have their sky-high asking price, and they are waiting for a team to meet that price. And ultimately, I do think a team will get close to that, like the Cubs. They recognize that they need some starting pitching help, and Gore would kind of fit what they need at this point. But again, they're going to have to meet the Nationals' price, and it's not going to be up to the Nationals shopping McKenzie Gore. Teams are calling them about it, and teams want Gore. That is where the Nationals stand, and that is where they should stand moving forward until tomorrow's deadline. Thank you for making Locked On Nats your first listen. And again, if you haven't checked this out, look us up, Locked On Nationals, over on YouTube for the video version of this podcast. But next, let's get into a Nathaniel Lowe move. This is something I thought that would happen. It's something I've kind of been standing on a table for quite some time. But there's been no smoke surrounding Nathaniel Lowe. And that has surprised me. But now that I think about it, it doesn't really surprise me. I'll get into that after this. And guys, it's time to fuel up and turn up with 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. It brings the bold grape, ginger, and lime flavor of your favorite golf drink, minus the alcohol, into a quick, energizing shot. Whether you're sinking birdies or just making memories with friends, this one's a hole-in-one for your energy game. And let's be honest, some days on the course or off it, you just need that extra boost to stay sharp and energized. Like, for instance, I needed that energy the other day when I was golfing, and so I had a 5-Hour Energy Transfusion to help me witness my friend make the most ridiculous shot you have ever seen 100 yards away from the pin. He sunk it in one. One of the coolest things ever. And golf is all about good times with good people and good flavors, of course, like 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. If you go to 5hourenergy.com today, that is the number 5, hourenergy.com. You can use my promo code LOCKEDONGOLF to receive 20% off your order. The offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders. Also, whether you're meeting up with friends or trying to turn 18 holes into 36, get the energizing boost you need to power through. Order transfusion flavored 5-Hour Energy shots today. And thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. So as we kind of jump into it here with Nathaniel Lowe, let me just say this. I'm really surprised about where the market is surrounding Nathaniel Lowe at this point. I was expecting to see a lot of rumors of teams shopping him around. I was expecting the Nationals to be very willingly open to trading him at this year's deadline. But the more that we wait, and the more that I get to think about it, the more that I think the Nationals will likely stay put, and here's why. Nathaniel Lowe has been a disappointment, to say the least. I was actually just talking to a buddy who works in the baseball industry also, and we talked about a move with Nathaniel Lowe, and he was like, you know what? Like, Nathaniel Lowe has really struggled, and even though his home run numbers are up this year from what it was the past few seasons now, he still has not put together a very good season. 15 home runs in 107 games so far. He had 16 home runs in 140 games last year, but still even had a higher slug last year with less home runs. His on-base percentage is down tremendously at this point, and he is still under team control for next season. Now, the Nationals could non-tender him this offseason, and quite frankly, I would not be too surprised of that. And if they think that is the move for them moving forward, then yeah, you should trade him for quite literally anything that you want at this year's deadline. Like, again, if someone is not on this team next year, and if he is not in the future plans for 2026 and beyond, then you got to trade him. But the market has not really set that way. And I think the Nationals may pivot on this discussion surrounding Nathaniel Lowe and may take a gamble with him bouncing back next season. Contract years are weird. Players, they get in shape for it. They prepare for it because they know that that is kind of their chance to prove themselves in especially Lowe situation, who has had a low season. Get it? You understand the point. But still, maybe the Nationals do take a gamble on Nathaniel Lowe and try to move him next year's deadline. Or maybe he finishes out strong these final 2 months and you try to trade him at the winter deadline. Or maybe you just take a gamble on him and he has a big season in 2026 and you give him a small little extension, like a 3-year, $45 million deal, something like that. I don't know what it would take, but still, that's kind of the market that you would ask for a power hitting first baseman who at times can be decent defensively. It's been a weird time for Nathaniel Lowe because, again, the eye test tells a little bit of a different story, offensively speaking. He hits some clutch home runs. He drives a lot of people in for the Nationals, and it hasn't been that bad. But then you look at the numbers, and his on-base percentage is down nearly 70 points from last season. You look at his slugging is down. His batting average is down from a 265 to a 226. There are metrics there that you're like, this guy has regressed, and he has continued to regress for the past 3 seasons. Those are all in play for the Nationals at this point, and those are real things that are happening here in DC with Lowe. But maybe the Nationals think that right now with the offers coming in, they're not that good because Lowe has not been that good at this point. Maybe they think that next year's deadline, if Lowe does bounce back, or maybe in this offseason, if he has a strong second half, that the trade market will treat him completely differently. And I think that is actually fair. Again, I wanted Nathaniel Lowe gone. And it's not anything against him, but I think that it just felt like it was time. I feel like I've seen enough, and I don't think he is our future at first base. But maybe the Nationals in this new regime, they think differently. And maybe they think the camaraderie that he brings in the clubhouse and helping the young guys be an everyday major leaguer is a little bit different. So I think that might be holding back the market for Nathaniel Lowe at this point. And maybe the Nationals are just banking on him having a big second half here in the last 2 months of the season. And maybe they want to take a gamble on him for next year. Because one thing is for sure is that the Nationals were right when they went to arbitration with him this last winter. Nathaniel Lowe, I believe, wanted $11 million. The Nationals wanted $10.5 million. It was a bad look. Again, they were penny pinching, but the Nationals, they seem to be pretty right about that right now, looking back at that arbitration deal. So as far as things stand with Nathaniel Lowe, it's been surprising. But right now, I think the Nationals are doing what's right with Lowe. Don't trade him if you don't have to. And I think that's kind of where I stand today. So thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Again, if anything happens with MacKenzie Gore, stay tuned right here to Locked On Nationals. I will have a live reaction for you if he does get traded. But until then, have a good one. Go Nats.